Content warning: the story you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. It contains disturbing details. I'm trembling as I write these lines. My heart is still pounding, as if that night has never ended. The storm has long passed. The sky is clear once again. But there is one thing. One image. That still haunts my mind whenever the winds pick up. That night, when it felt like the world itself was being torn apart by the wrath of nature. I saw someone, or rather, something, standing silently just outside my window. Not fleeing. Not terrified. Just standing there, unmoving, staring straight at me where I shivered inside. Many times I asked myself, was I imagining things? But every time I close my eyes, I see those eyes again. Silent, patient, waiting, as if still standing out there somewhere. If you think you're ready to hear this story, then please continue. But remember, some gazes, once they touch your mind, will never leave. The storm that night seemed to want to tear the world apart. The wind howled through every crack in the house, flinging branches against the walls like furious knocks from invisible hands. I curled up in the dark room, my only light a faint beam from a tiny flashlight. Every noise, every bang outside felt like a dagger stabbing straight into my swelling fear. Then, suddenly, amidst the blinding flashes of lightning, I saw it. A figure. Standing right outside the window. Unmoved by the rain. Unaffected by the roaring wind. Just standing there, staring at me. My heart seized. I held my breath, staring wide-eyed, hoping the next lightning flash would prove it was just a trick of the light. But the next flash only burned the horrifying image deeper into my mind. The figure was still there, motionless, with black, bottomless eyes that swallowed me in utter terror. I swallowed hard, my trembling hand clenching the flashlight like the last weapon I had. For a brief moment, I told myself, maybe it's just a tree branch, or a reflection. But then, another bolt of lightning split the sky. And I saw it clearly. It was a person. Clothes drenched, long hair hanging down, half obscuring their face. Standing rigid. And those eyes, oh God, those eyes, wide open, lifeless, as if they had died long ago but the soul refused to leave. I stumbled back, crashing onto the cold floor. In panic, I groped for my phone. No signal. The howling wind outside sounded like maniacal laughter. And then, there it was. A soft knock on the window. Slow. Gentle. Yet echoing like a death knell through the stormy night. Knock. 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 I clamped a hand over my mouth to muffle my sobs. My entire body shivered uncontrollably. The figure, still standing there, tilted its head slightly, as if curiously observing me. Then, slowly, a pale hand slid down the glass, leaving behind long smears like blood dissolving into the rain. I don't remember where I hid. I don't remember how much I cried. But one thing I do remember. When the police arrived, there were only water-streaked handprints on the window. No one else. No trace of any intruder. But I know. I swear to God. That night, amidst the raging storm, something, someone, had stood there, watching me. And even now, though the storm has long passed, sometimes, when the wind howls again, I still hear soft tapping on my window. I rush to lock every window, yanking the curtains shut, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the latch. But as I finished closing the curtains, I realized the kitchen window was still uncovered. From where I stood in the living room, I had a clear line of sight. Partly from the lightning, partly from raw instinct, I looked. And this time, I saw it clearly. A face. Pressed against the glass. Deathly pale. Emotionless. Its lips moved slightly, whispering something to me. I dared not breathe. Dared not move. And then, behind me, the door handle gave a soft click. Something, was trying to open it. I bolted for my bedroom, slammed the door, locked it, shoved the wardrobe in front of it. Curled up in a dark corner, pressed against the cold floor. In the darkness, I could hear it. The sound of bare feet dragging across the floor. Slow. Scraping. From the living room, moving closer, closer. I held my breath. Bit down on my lips so hard it bled. Just a few feet from the door, I heard a faint whisper. Not clear enough to catch words, but full of a drawn-out, mournful chill. Then, 3 knocks. Right on my bedroom door. Knock. 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 I shrank in on myself, tears streaming down my face. Didn't dare move. Didn't dare make a sound. Afraid that even the slightest noise would invite whatever was outside inside. The knocking ceased. A suffocating silence descended, so heavy I thought I might die. Until a cold gust of air whistled through the crack under the door. And a voice whispered right into my ear. I see you. I don't remember how long I sat there, back against the wardrobe, staring at the door. Every sense stretched to the brink, waiting for even the slightest noise. Nothing. Just the wild thudding of my own heart. I decided. Either I die frozen in fear, or I find out what's out there. Shaking, I slowly moved the wardrobe, unlocked the door. Click. Gripping the handle tightly, I pushed the door open. And saw nothing. Just a dark hallway, dimly lit by distant flashes of lightning. No one. No sound. Only, on the floor tiles, clear and wet, were footprints. Leading from the living room. Stopping right at my door. And then vanishing. I slammed the door shut, screaming. Curling into a ball until morning. When the sun finally rose. The footprints had disappeared. No signs of forced entry. No one else heard or saw anything that night. I began to doubt myself. Maybe it was just the storm. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks. I almost convinced myself. Until the next night. Just as I was about to drift off to sleep, a cold gust brushed my skin. And once again, 3 soft knocks at my bedroom door. Knock. 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 I snapped my eyes open. And for a split second, saw a figure outside. Its back turned toward me, silhouetted faintly through the door crack. I stayed awake all night. Every time I blinked, I saw that shadow. Standing motionless outside my room, waiting. 3 nights in a row, it repeated. The knocks. The figure. Always when I was just about to sleep. I began to waste away. Dark circles under my eyes. Shaking hands. Friends asked me, "You look haunted. Are you okay?" I just smiled weakly. How could I explain? How could I admit that I was afraid of my own home? On the 4th night, curled up in bed, I made a decision. If it knocked again, I wouldn't look, wouldn't open the door, wouldn't acknowledge it. But that night, when the knocking came, it wasn't from the door. It was right beside my ear. Knock. 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 I screamed, thrashing wildly, flicking the lights on, but saw nothing. No one. Only the misted window. With a small, frozen handprint. From inside the room. The next day, I finally did what I should have done long ago. I researched the history of the house. At first, nothing unusual. An old house, on sale for cheap because it was hard to move and too far from the city center. That was all. But digging deeper into old archives and newspaper reports over a decade old, I froze. On September 3rd of that year, in this very house, a young woman went missing. No clues. No evidence. Only that the night before she vanished, she had called a friend, voice trembling, repeating one thing. Someone's standing at my window, and he won't leave. No one ever found her. The police searched everywhere. They found scratch marks on the window frame, and a dried bloodstain in the bedroom. And the most chilling thing, the last photograph taken inside that room. In the blurry background, a shadow. Right where I had seen the figure that stormy night. I slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding. Outside, dusk had fallen. And in the fading twilight, I swear I saw a face pressed against the window, watching me. I thought it was my imagination. Sleep deprivation. Trauma. Stress. But the signs worsened. One night, just as I was finally dozing off, I was jolted awake by a faint scratching sound at the window. At first, I didn't dare open my eyes. But the sound persisted. Scratching, patient and unrelenting. Finally, I peeked. And froze. There were not just one. Not two. But at least 3 or 4 shadowy figures pressed against the glass. Their faces blank, no eyes, no mouths. Just grotesque slabs of flesh. Watching me. They didn't move. But every time I blinked, they crept a little closer. In panic, I screamed. I turned on every light. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands. When the lights blazed on, they were gone. Only the fogged-up glass, with strange, fleshy smears, remained.